Welcome to Sit Down Stand Up with John Malkin, the show where comedy meets conversation. Get ready for a ride full of laughs, stories from the stage, and possibly a few surprises. And now, here's your host, John Malkin.
Off and running. Oh, we are live, as they say in radio, TV land, whatever they say it in. How are you, everybody? Another episode, another show, Sit Down, Stand Up with me, John Malkin. I am your host. We are so honored and privileged to have a very, very cool guest today.
Their standards are low.
Yes, very funny man. I'm going to give him a quick intro, stroke his ego, and then he could stroke himself.
I'm doing that now, by the way.
Oh, perfect. So he's got a really interesting resume, if I can put it so lightly. Okay, so not only he's an incredible stand-up comic who's performed all over the country in some of the greatest clubs, Laugh Factory in Chicago, where I'm from, great club, Stand Up New York, Rodney's, formerly Dangerfields. He's appeared on the Tyra Banks show, which we're going to dive into because I want to hear all about that. And he also appeared on Cake Boss. He hosted an episode of Cake Boss, and I love cake. So I want to talk about that. He is an incredibly funny guy. Please say hello to Andy Troy. Andy Troy.
How are you, my friend? How you doing?
How you doing?
I am from Brooklyn, by the way. I'm not appropriating Brooklyn culture.
No, you're not. You're not. And we were just talking before we hopped on. You're a Yankees fan, and the Yankees are not in a good place right now.
No, they're in a good place, Yankee Stadium, but it's not a good time.
Yes, they're in a great place, great location, bad place.
Well, that song must have been the right place, but it must have been the wrong time.
Wrong time.
The right time was 1996.
Right? Yeah. Well, you know what?
Was good too.
There's a chance. They're still in it, right? It's not over yet. We'll find out what happens tonight. Thanks for coming on the show, Andy. I appreciate it.
Hey, it's my pleasure.
We have a couple mutual friends, and Joe Pantillo, who it was in one of your videos, was our guest on our show. But I want to talk. There's a lot to talk about with you because you have such an interesting background, and I want to get into the comedy. But when I saw that you were on the Tyra Banks show, I love Tyra Banks. Talk about that. That's pretty cool. How did you get on? What'd you do? Did you get the meter? Of course you got the meter, but tell us about what happened with Tyra Banks.
Well, I wrote an anti-aging book called Living Young, 32 Habits of Ageless People, because I have 3 personal training certifications. I've been a consultant on a bunch of fitness videos. That was an additional career of mine.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. I was also a club promoter, as you know. I host big nightclub parties.
Yeah.
And I was in a club where I was asked to promote my book at someone else's event, and the Tyra Banks people sought me out and said, "How old are you?" And I told them at the time I was 50. And they said, "How old do people think you are?" And I said, much younger. And they said, "Perfect." And they wanted to put me on there, this 44-year-old woman who only dates 30-year-old men.
All right.
And I was 50 at the time, so they had me go out with her and pose as a 35-year-old bartender. And I had to go rock climbing and doing physical stuff that she didn't think guys her age could do. Then when they told her how old I was, she made a big fuss that I got to promote my book and my bedroom workout for men DVD.
Wait a minute. So, okay, let me get this straight. So you basically convinced her that you're a young guy.
I didn't even try to convince her. She convinced herself.
She convinced herself. Okay. So then she finds out your real age, and then because even though you looked the part, you played the part, the fact she found out you were 50, she said, "Take a hike."
No. She was very excited, but I mean, poor girl got ripped to shreds on YouTube, and every comment people posted. And it's rough when you come out and say, "Guys my age aren't good enough for me." You're leaving yourself open for some criticism, but
yes,
it was a good episode. You could actually see it if you go to YouTube.
Where do you find it?
Punch in Andy Troy Tyra Banks on YouTube, and it can come up. And it was a lot of fun, except I ripped my shoulder apart doing the rock climbing, but that's another story.
Okay. So probably an activity you should have taken up, right? Just to impress her?
Well, it wasn't even on the show. I've never done it in my life, and I don't like heights, so I figured let me do it once before I look like an idiot on national TV. And I went to a place that let you go up and down the wall twice for $20.
Okay.
And the first time was no problem. Then I tell him I'm going to do this on television. He probably thought I was going to be on Fear Factor or something. And he has me do a more challenging course, and I reach across my body and pull myself sideways and hurt my shoulder. Then I had to go on the show and
Oh.
spend 8 hours rock climbing, weightlifting, doing push-ups with this girl sitting on my back. And
Wow.
I said to them when I went in, can I warm? I kind of hurt my shoulder yesterday. Can I warm up? And they're no, they don't care about you. Get out of here.
That's
Do what
so
we tell you
funny.
and go home. And
Wait,
on
so
the
you were in the fitness game,
yes.
an author and an instructor and all that, and then so how did you get into comedy?
Well, I did stand up 30 years ago.
Okay.
More than that now, actually, like 1990, 1991.
Okay.
At Pips, which is considered itself the first comedy club in America.
Right.
And the New York Comedy Club, the Village Gate, which is now La Poison Rouge. And I had a nice little run going, but then I eventually stopped and took a brief 30-year break.
Wow, a brief 30-year. Okay.
But I'm an event promoter, and I was big nightclub parties. We had 1,000 people at my Halloween party Friday night.
Jeez.
And actually, if you go to my Facebook page, either Andy Troy or Andy Troy's Tasting NYC, which is my group on my events group.
You are a
can
jack of
see-
all trades.
Yes, you can see the photo album.
Okay.
So anyway, what was I saying? Because I'm old and I forget. Where were we?
How you got into comedy? You took a 30-year break.
Yes. So I took a break, but then since comedy clubs were always approaching me saying, bring your people to us, during the whole COVID thing, I said, I got some time stuck in my house. Let me put a routine back together, which I did. I got very chummy with my selfie ring. And we're going to have some people over. We'll invite you. So we did, I contacted Al Martin, who was the owner of the Broadway Comedy Club,
Yeah.
who used to book me in 1991 at the New York Comedy Club.
Right.
And he gave me the place. It was the first thing they did after the COVID thing ended, May
Interesting.
14th, 2021.
Wow.
And I did a half-hour show without having done stand-up in 30 years.
Did people come out? I mean, there were people.
I had 118 paying people.
So people came out.
Yes.
They were anxious to get out, and they came out.
Well, some of those people were already out, but that's
Right.
another type of humor.
Right.
But no, it was a great crowd and a great night. And after that, I produced a show one Friday night a month for 3 years at Broadway.
Wow.
I also produced.
Do you still do that or no?
I haven't. The last few months, I haven't done the Broadway thing, but I do. I did comedy in the back of a pizzeria in Astoria,
Wow.
like last week. There's a
Wow.
a pizza place called Alba's. It's a nice place, and they do the little comedy thing in the back.
Nice.
So I produced a show at Rodney's,
Yeah.
which used to be Dangerfield, so apparently
Yeah.
they don't have the rights to the name anymore.
Oh.
Then I was on someone else's show about a month ago at Rodney's. I produced a show with the Copa. That was interesting.
Very cool.
So
Man, you've done a ton.
I'm, people say it's good for me to get out of the house. So,
Is that right? Anyone in particular?
anyone that's in the house with me, actually.
That's really funny.
Oh, before we forget Joe Pontillo, who we were discussing while we were
Yes.
getting levels. He's a comedian who you've had on, and
Yes.
he was one of the stars of my video, Backup Romeo.
Backup Romeo, which I saw on YouTube, which is really funny. About basically, it's the concept is that this very pretty woman in the video, who I want to find out who that is. Her date cancels, and you're basically like you're the call guy. You're the last man standing.
No, she reluctantly agrees to date a guy that she meets on like the internet,
Right.
and his car breaks down and he's grounded.
Yeah,
which
that
is
was Joe
particularly
Pontillo.
funny since he's like 40.
Yes.
And his mother grounds him. So
Yes.
she shows up at this bar, and there's no women there.
Right.
I set it up like that, obviously.
It's all these guys. Yeah.
Nothing but guys, like really
Right.
horny-looking old guys.
Yes.
And I give her the eye, but she's not interested when she gets there. But after she takes a look at these guys, I don't look so bad. That's why I'm her backup Romeo.
It's like closing time.
When your Match.com date doesn't show, I'm your backup Romeo.
You're the backup Romeo. It was a funny video. Now, who was that woman? She was just a friend of yours, or just a model, or
She's a comedian also, Madison Malloy.
Madison Malloy?
There were a lot of
Okay.
comedians in it. Glenn Cohn is the guy with the beard.
Oh, okay.
I use him in a lot of my stuff. Ron Barbara is the kind of the tall guy with the slice of pizza.
Oh, yeah, saw him. Yeah.
So those are all comedians. And
Oh, that's very cool.
Some of the others are actors or people who come to my party. The old guy in the beret is my photographer, Rob Klein.
Oh, that's so funny. And you've done a few. There's a few videos on the YouTube page. You have one called the aging. You have one which is really funny. You wrote. It's called the aging white rapper.
Right. I filmed that during the whole COVID shutdown. There was nobody in Times Square. We said, what better time is this than to have Times Square to myself without having to pay for the permit.
Right.
I'm Jewish.
That's so funny.
I don't spend money I don't have to spend. So we got out there. I had already written the song and recorded it, and we were able to film a really fun video with
fun.
And no one but me.
And you wrote all that. You wrote that whole rap song and everything.
Well, I'm a writer. That's really what I am. I'm a songwriter. I had a record out in the '80s back when they still had records.
Yes, I want to talk about too because that's also you sent me that video. I want to talk about your band called the
Shades.
The Shades. You were the drummer.
A record came out in 1985.
1985. It's a good song.
That's what I keep telling people.
Right? It's not too late, man. It could go retro.
Can you go retro? I mean, it was this does not sound old. This is old.
Yeah, I know, but man, I don't know. Maybe that sounds like coming back. I don't know. I thought it was good. And that drumming was. I was like, who's that drummer?
Well, I wrote the song too, by the way.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
Well, I wrote all our songs with a songwriting partner.
You're a writer, performer. You're a fitness guru. You're old. We're all washed up. But then, all right, and also
I did now this morning.
Now, are you a baker? Because you were a host of an episode of Cake Boss. How did that come about, and why?
Well, as I mentioned, I host big nightclub parties, and I've been doing it for over 20 years.
Right, and you're still doing it because you just had a big Halloween party.
Yeah, and I do themed events, a lot of them. My next party is called a Decades Dance Party, where the decade of the music changes every hour.
What decade you started in, like the 30s?
It's 60s, 6 to 7, 70s, 7 to 8, 80s, 8 to 9, etc.
I got it. Okay.
So I do all these themed events. I did something called a Feast for All Five Senses. I did a Casablanca cocktail party where we played all the music of the era, everyone dressed, in white tuxedos, etc.
Right.
So the Cake Boss people knew of what I do, apparently. They found that I do these elaborate themed events. And they asked me if I could put together this elaborate themed Roman event. And it was a kind of a pain in the ass to get to the point where we finally did it, because first they had to test me out, because this was on an episode of Cake Boss.
Right.
So they had
which is on Food Network, right?
Well, it was on TLC, yeah.
Oh, TLC, okay.
But now you could see the whole history of the show on Tubi. So you could see my episode is called Pimp My Cake. Because the other segment on the show is a low rider cake that bounces up and down.
That's funny. Now there's a porno version called Cake My Pimp.
I don't mix food and sex, but that's fine if you like that kind of thing. So anyway, I had to go do a test version in somebody's apartment. Right. And we did the whole thing, and then it didn't work.
Oh.
So we had to go back to someone else's apartment and do it. And I'm trying to plan my events. And I finally told them, we got to pick a date for this, or I got to do something else. Right. So we picked a date, and it was like 10 years ago maybe. Right. And it was a great night. 235th, where I do most of my events these days, this big rooftop nightclub. That's where I had the Halloween party. And we had a belly dance show and a Roman costume contest. I got a whole bunch of models to come down in togas. And I thought, well, going back to the Tyra thing for a minute, you were not hanging out with Tyra having a drink. It was stand here, go there, get out. Here's your limo, we're taking you home.
Did you get to meet her?
Yeah, oh yeah. Well, I mean, I was on stage being interviewed by her.
Yeah. There you go. I mean, was she cordial when the? It
was pretty businesslike, to be honest.
Pretty businesslike.
And then they stick you in the back. Another segment on the show with 3 comedians. Interesting, so I'm doing that now. And a 28-year-old virgin. This was women outside their comfort zone, like the woman who was dating an older man for a 35-year-old man when she's used to dating younger guys than that, and it turned out I was 50. But so it was pretty much, here you are, here's your stuff, get out of here. So I thought the Cake Boss people would be like that too, but they stayed till 2 a.m. getting drunk in togas. So they were a fun bunch.
So it was a show about the 28-year-old virgin, about her meeting her match finally, or what?
Well, this was the Tyra Banks thing was women outside their comfort zone. So she's
Ah.
like uncomfortable with men in her zone, I guess.
Apparently.
You could look at it. And so they had these three wacko comedians in there. And with mine, she was not, she was used to like 30-year-old guys or under 30-year-old.
Ah.
So now they're hooking her up with a 35-year-old to
Got
get
it.
her out, and really her outside her comfort zone, I guess, when they found out
Got
that
it.
I was 50.
Got it.
Which
Got it.
sadly is a long time ago.
Yes, indeed. So
Well,
are you still? Are you still? Are you,
67 years old, by the way.
wow. Now, are you still performing? Are you still doing
These are
stand
my
up?
original parts.
Oh, okay. Are you still doing stand up? Are you still out on stage doing your thing?
Right now I am, if you consider
Okay.
this a stage.
Yes.
But yes, I am. If you got any shows for me, hook me up. There's clubs in Connecticut. I'm mobile.
There's a great club, Stress Factory, up in Bridgeport. One of my favorites. I've performed there a few times. It's a fantastic club, and I do most of my performing in the city. I've been at Broadway several times, at Greenwich Comic Strip Live. I love going into the city and
Yeah, the
performing.
city's good, but sounds like you don't like going into Connecticut. Yeah, there's stuff in Connecticut, but I love going into the city.
Well, where I
Get
live,
outta here.
it's actually easier for me to get into New York City on the train than it is to start going up into the burbs of heading up towards the Hartford area and all that. But there are some great clubs in Connecticut.
Well,
and
I like doing stuff in the city because now I have my senior citizens Metro card for half off.
There you go. It's all about the discount.
Like I said, I am Jewish. But
Yes.
I'm not good at it. I'm actually not good at it.
That's so funny. Well, you're talking to a fellow triber, so
Really?
it's good.
Well,
Yes,
I
I
had a
know.
bar mitzvah actually, and there were no Jews. It was all my father's army friends, and they actually
Not even the rabbi.
They ran out of the unlimited liquor. This is true, by the way.
Seriously.
Yeah,
Wow.
It was all. My father was a ranger in World War II,
Okay.
so the whole bar mitzvah were a bunch of old army rangers drinking straight scotch out of like water glasses, and these people went nuts. They thought they were getting grandma and grandpa drinking a Coke.
That's too funny, man. That's too funny. Now, how old are you, if you don't mind me asking? 'Cause
67.
you're 67. You look fantastic for 67.
I did
So
write an anti-aging book.
You should do. Are you still a fitness fanatic? I mean, you getting up every day and like crushing it and pumping. What are you keeping your girlish figure?
I find that the key to staying young is to never get up before noon. No,
Very well put.
well, sadly, I'm only half kidding, but I'm retired. I was a truant officer for 27 years,
Really?
Yeah.
At a school?
multiple schools. The last
Wow.
15 years were Fort Hamilton High School in Bay Ridge, Brooklyn.
Did you carry a gun?
Only if I took one away from a kid. No.
Which was it common?
Um,
Did you have some pretty rough hauls you had to
I had kids
Patrol?
who weren't in school because they committed murder. I had kids who weren't in school because they were murdered. It pretty much ran the gamut. Actually, I think the funniest story to a lot of people, they asked me to go to this apartment above a bodega, Mexican family, big
Right.
family, like 15 people.
Right.
And the family called the school and said, my son locked himself in the room. He won't come out. Can you come talk to him? So I go down there. It's across the street from where I ate lunch anyway. And I'm talking, and he like stuffed tissue paper around the doorknob because there was a big space and they could look in. And he wanted some privacy to do whatever he was doing with the tissues. I don't know. And so he filled it up, right? And I pulled them all out and I'm looking around trying to see him. And I'm giving him my best speech for about 15 minutes. And I use my closing argument and he never answers me. I go back to the school and I find out why he didn't answer me. He was
Why?
in school. He locks the door when he goes out. I was talking to a door for 20 minutes. So that was
So
one.
you're negotiating with nobody.
Then I had the flip side of the coin when I worked at Brooklyn Tech, which was a really good school with like, you have to take a test to get in. And I had this Eastern European kid living on Kings Highway in Brooklyn.
Right.
And he kept not coming to school. And the school kept asking me to go to the house.
Right.
And his father would come to the door in his fuzzy slippers and his bathrobe and say, I don't understand. I see his report card. He's doing very well. Finally, we kept the pressure on. They all came in for a meeting, and they brought in his report card, which had very good marks on it, because the kid made up his own report card on his computer. He was doing very well.
God, that's ingenious. I wish I'd have had that opportunity when I was.
Yeah, so we didn't have that technology when we were kids to
No, we had
to ruin
none.
our lives as effectively as they can now.
I tell my kids I had a 4.0 in high school if I add up all 4 years of my GPA together.
The kid's probably got a podcast now.
Oh, man. Yeah, I know. He's probably making a
or owns
fortune.
a network with podcasts, whichever.
Yeah. Unbelievable.
So,
So,
yeah,
wow. So Ed Truant officer, I mean, are you on drugs? No, I mean,
Am I on drugs? You
have a tremendous amount of, I mean, you got this incredible energy to you to just, I mean, you just, bam, you're doing parties, you're doing stand-up, you're doing truancy, you're doing.
Not anymore. I retired.
But man, but
ago.
I know, but man, you just you had a lot going on in your life.
Like that government pension.
So in your material when you're doing stand-up, now I saw your routine that you posted on the show you did at the Laugh Factory in Chicago, which is totally hysterical. But now, as I'm talking to you, you do talk about aging, which is the material is fantastic. And I actually want to ask you about, there's one bit which I was crying. I thought you did fantastic. Your timing is fantastic. But you didn't do you not want to joke about you must have some great stories about your truancy time.
You know, you would think, I mean, I told you a couple, but I just tend to, that's just not what I worked into the routine. A lot of it is about being an old Jewish guy who's bad with technology. And
which is pretty much true.
It is true. Absolutely.
I speak for myself too.
Yeah, I mean, you know what we had to go through, the two of us getting this hooked up. So I'm hoping people are actually hearing me. Hello out there. But actually, I'm afraid with I'm good with any kind of technology once I get it down.
Right.
But I'm afraid to get anything new because I'm afraid I'm going to press the wrong button and bring down NASA. Satellites will start falling. I'll press a button. It won't be good for anyone. So, but
that's funny.
It's a lot of, I mean, it's a lot of generals, a lot of plays on words. I grew up on the Marx Brothers. So.
Well, okay, it's funny you say that because your humor and your stand-up, your videos are also extremely funny. But you had this one bit when you're doing the your show at the Laugh Factory. Yeah. You had these Barbie parts.
Oh, yeah.
And it was brilliant when you said, I think you said, show me a little leg or something like that.
I mentioned how I got booked to do a show in a gay bar for the first time.
That's right.
And when the owner said, you're kind of cute, they're going to like you here, but you got to show a little leg. So I brought this one. I actually had a Barbie
and you took
leg.
out that little Barbie leg. Man, that's clever. That is
then
just
I say
funny.
To people, come on, I dismembered a Barbie for this. Give me a hand. Then I have a Barbie hand. Then
you
I
have a Barbie hand.
High five.
That's
Don't
so
say
funny.
you never high-fived the doll part before. Like, who the hell has ever done that? Well,
that's very funny.
Then there's a part later, which I didn't do in that show, which I've added in, which I'm talking about. I mentioned another Barbie joke, and I say, it was that one Barbie joke too many. Maybe I should have quit when I was ahead. And what comes out of my pocket but a Barbie head. So
that's fantastic.
As I mentioned, the one problem with this bit is I keep losing these legs. So I got a whole apartment full of mutilated Barbie carcasses. Girls come over, take one look around, and leave. Occasionally a girl comes over and likes what she sees, then I leave.
Okay, so when you're in prison finally, and for all the crimes you've committed, and they go to your apartment and they see all the mutilated... True. And they see all the mutilated Barbies, they go, okay, now we get it.
Yeah, well, actually, that's why I'm in prison. They didn't even wait to find out if I actually did anything. They just looked at my apartment, and that was the end of that.
So your domain right now is RikersIsland.com. That's where we can find you.
Well, you didn't hear that because it's in another bit, because I talk about now, I met a lot of girls, online, but, I mentioned rap chicks.
Right.
And they're tough. I met one of them online. She told me she was from the island. I didn't know she meant Rikers. She offered to give me a cell number. I didn't even know she lived in one.
That's good.
I'm single because my girlfriend dumped me. She got mad at me for making eye contact with her during sex. But the guy she was having sex with didn't seem to mind.
That's good stuff, man. That's good stuff. That's very funny. It's just witty. You're like the king. In that what? It was probably an 8-minute set. You probably had like 41 liners. I mean,
I've cut down. People said there were just too many. They're on top of each other. It's like a stampede of one-liners to the door.
It is. And it's one after the other.
Many one-liners were injured in the making of this comedy bit.
That's so funny. Now, are you writing all the time? I mean, like when you do your comedy now. I mean, you're probably we all do this. We have our favorite stuff that works, and you I don't say rehashing, but you're just revisiting it a lot. But are you constantly writing and bringing in new material?
Well, to show that I'm not completely incapable of technology, I have now no longer carrying a piece of paper and a pen and scribbling things down, but
So
I
you're doing
actually
it on your
put it on
phone now?
on my phone.
Yes.
So I have advanced to that point. So that
I've
instead of the stuff that I couldn't read because my handwriting is so bad, I have stuff that I can't read because there's so many typos.
God bless spell check.
Oh, yeah, spell check, it quit on me.
I find, I go to when I go to bed every night. I just have my iPad because and whatever I'm on the web or whatever on the internet, and then I put the iPad next to my my bedside table. But I wake up in the middle of the night. Does this happen to you? And some people have like these, people like songwriters talk about they get this idea when they're in the shower. And actually it's funny because when I'm in the shower, I start coming up with ideas. But like I get up at like 3 o'clock in the morning and I have this idea. And I will just send myself an email because, they do have message. You could just, I know there's things you just put in your message board and all that, but I got to send myself an email just to make sure I don't forget. But do you find yourself doing that? I mean, you're talking about, do you just have like stuff that just comes and you're just like jotting it down, sending yourself, making sure you don't forget it?
I got my phone in the room, and if I get an idea, I will wake up. And the beauty of not having to get up in the morning is it doesn't matter how many times I do that. I can just roll over an extra time and write another routine.
I love it. Well, I know I have to get up for one reason every night, regardless whether
we don't need to share that this is a family show.
No, it's just it doesn't matter how much I drink, how little I drink before I go to bed. I'm just getting up and getting out of bed.
That gets worse, by the way.
Yes, I know. That's what they say. That's all right. So the other thing I wanted to talk to you about is in your bio, you talk about you're the subject of a TV pilot called The Straight Goods.
Yes.
Tell me about that. That's pretty cool.
Well, there was a Canadian production company called Inside Film, which I believe was the biggest production company, TV production company in Canada. At least that's what I read. And they contacted me because they wanted to come all the way to New York from wherever the hell that was. Not Winnipeg, I forget.
Vancouver. I'm just throwing it out.
All the way from Vancouver.
Wow.
And
good guess.
to do a segment for me on this TV pilot, it was kind of going to be similar to Men's Health magazine, like on TV.
So this was about your fitness stuff, not your comedy.
Right. It was about.
Oh, got it. Okay.
It was about nutrition, sexuality, and I have this video, the bedroom workout for men, on how to improve men's sexual performance through exercise, and that's why they came to do a segment in the gym on that for me to demonstrate some exercises and be my pseudo semi-entertaining self.
And what happened to the pilot? Did it ever materialize?
I told you I was in it, right? You could see it on YouTube. Punch in Andy Troy, The Straight Goods, and you'll find out why it didn't go on.
Oh, seriously? Oh, yeah. That's a bummer.
No, I mean, I don't know why. They told me, actually, when they called me, he said he was a producer for the E! Network. Well, they were making a show for the E! Network, a pilot.
Okay.
But they didn't mention that the E! Network didn't say, we're buying this. I mean, so it didn't air, but they made one. It's like we were making a pilot to make a pilot, basically.
Got it.
We're making a pilot, and if they like it, they'll show it as a pilot.
Got it. Man, you've done a lot.
It's gotten me on this show.
Yeah, that's so cool. God, good for you. That's amazing. Do you have any upcoming shows that you want to tell the trove of listeners and anything?
I'm actually planning a couple of more videos, so I don't have a show book right now.
Okay.
But I do have my next party.
When's your next party? Are your parties public?
Yeah. Yes, I expose myself to the public at all my
There
parties.
you go. So it's not invite only. I mean, you promote these parties and people come and they pay and they.
Well, like the civil service, we'll take anybody.
All right. Where's your next party?
November 22nd is a Decades Dance Party, as I mentioned, at 235th, the same place. But if people want to contact me, I will get them the info. But it's all over the internet like a virus.
All right.
Andy Troy's Tasting NYC is actually a group on Facebook where I post them all, but they could also write me, Andy Troy on Facebook, Andy F. Troy at AOL.com. Yes, I have AOL and I am old.
You're
And
one
so
of
is
the 3
AOL.
people that still has
Yeah,
AOL.
and we communicate regularly. We have a very small. We have a group on
Very
Facebook,
small.
but unless you have 5 people, you can't really do anything with it. So
That's funny.
yes, if they write me at Andy F. Troy at AOL, they can even text me obscenities at 917-754-4329.
Wow.
And if you have big breasts, as long as you're a nice guy, it's fine.
Okay.
And I want you there. I want you bad. But
Oh, I
it's a
appreciate
really
that.
nice club, and free admission before 8. And if not completely satisfied, double your money back.
Wow. Wow. You are just a jack of all trades,
Did you
man.
just say a jack? A jack of what?
You're a jack-o'-lantern.
Oh, okay.
You are no
I
seriously.
thought
You
I
just
was a jack of something.
and not a jackass. You're a very nice guy,
Or
but you just
ejaculating. I don't know what it was.
there's just so much in your. I mean that you've done and you continue. Good for you, man.
Yeah,
You're not slowing down.
I'm not speeding up. I'm not slowing down. I'm just slowly gliding down the road
You're
of life.
gliding along.
Yes.
Well,
And,
I tell you,
I'm not getting out of your way, so don't ask me.
I'm not going to ask you to get out of my way. So, all right. So, for those listeners, and then for those who will be watching this on it's called the internet. I just discovered it like 2 weeks ago. There's so much information out there.
There's a hamster running in a wheel, right? That powers it.
It's crazy. It slows down a lot when it dies. But on YouTube, when the show is released, I will get the show to you, and I will post it on my page at John Malkin Live. And you got to check out Andy's material, and just keep in touch with this guy because there's just a lot going on, man.
My YouTube channel, 2 YouTube channels, Andy Troy and
Andy
the Andy
Troy.
Troy Show, because I had a TV show. And
You
a
had your own
radio
television show.
I had a radio show for 3 years before that with a lot of celebrity guests: Tommy James, Little Anthony, Dominic Chianese. Fun people.
Unbelievable. Man, you guys so much going. All right. Before we, first of all, what a pleasure having you on as a guest. I love doing the show because I get to meet not only some great people, but just great comics from all over the country. And it's just such a pleasure meeting you. And I got a little bit on the show that we call repeat offenders, okay? And I'm going to ask you 5 questions, and you just tell me the first thing that comes to your mind, all right?
All righty.
Okay. Not hard questions. If you can invite anyone over to your house for dinner, dead or alive, who's coming to Andy Troy's house?
Whoever it is, I want them to be alive, by the way.
It could be dead, too.
I want Groucho.
Groucho. That would be cool. You're a fan, aren't you?
I am.
Yeah. Good for you. That'd be a cool dinner. All right. If you could tour with any comic, dead or alive, who are you touring with?
I might go with George Carlin. I saw him live at Carnegie Hall in the 70s, and the sound system went out.
Yep.
And he spent a half an hour entertaining the crowd, just following the paper airplanes they made out of the flyers.
That's so funny.
Yeah, so George is good.
Carlin. Okay. All right, here we go. If you were a ghost, who would you spend the most time haunting?
Who annoys the hell out of me? That's a good question. Who has
any exes that come to mind, or?
Well, that's also possible. But James Dolan has kind of ruined the Knicks.
James Dolan, yes.
I might give him a hard time.
Okay. You might have to get in line.
Well, that's a ghost of a different color.
Okay. 2 more questions. If a genie gave you one wish, what would you wish for?
If a genie gave me one wish,
yeah,
what would I want?
Anything you want.
World peace. I would like a really cute piece so I could take all over the world.
That's it. Good for you. All right, last question for Andy Troy. If you had to wear a sign around your neck for the rest of your life, what the heck is it going to say?
Slippery when wet.
Bon Jovi would be loving you for that, wouldn't he? The Jersey Boy. That was great, man. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Hey, my pleasure.
It was it's so nice meeting you. Best of luck with everything. All right, so you got your big party coming up on the 22nd. You got to check that out.
And check out my video, Backup Romeo.
Backup Romeo is really funny. It's like Andy Samberg kind of funny. I mean that, especially your white rapper one. It's good stuff. check this guy out, man. He is funny. Stay in touch with him. Andy Troy, thank you, my friend. I truly appreciate it. Best of luck to you, and I know you got a lot of stuff coming up in the next 10 years, and I'm gonna haunt you.
I look forward to meeting you in person off the interweb.
Off the old interweb. I look forward to sharing a stage and maybe doing other things with you too. It'll be a lot of fun.
A stage and a bottle of tequila.
I'd love that.
And I'll let you have some.
Excellent. And for all those who tune into this great show, thank you so much. I am John Malkin. Sit down, stand up. Another incredible episode. We are out of here.
That's a wrap on today's episode of Sit Down, Stand Up with John Malkin. Make sure to follow John on social media at John Malkin Live. See you next time, and don't forget to think while you laugh.